What's going on, guys? Today I have a really cool little interview for you, and it is with Cara Leopold from leolistening.com. So this is a really cool interview. This is part one, where we're going to be talking about how she ended up moving to France, how she learned French, and how she adapted to the French culture. So it's a really cool interview, guys. She also has an interesting accent. See if you can pick where she's from. I hope you enjoy this one, and make sure that you stay tuned for the second interview, which will be out shortly, about how to stop using subtitles when you watch movies. Stay tuned, it's a ripper. G'day guys, welcome to this episode of Aussie English. I have a special guest for you today on today's interview episode, and you might notice that she has a slightly different accent from me. Cara from leolistening.com, thanks for coming on the podcast and chatting to us about getting subtitle free.
Hiya Pete, yeah, thanks for introducing me, and yes, we do have a slightly different accent.
Can you tell me where yours is from? Can you tell me about it? Yeah, I would love to know.
Mine is a bit of a mess because as a kid, I used to live in Scotland. So I lived in Scotland till I was like 11 or 12, and all my family are Scottish, and then so when I was sort of 11, almost 12, we moved to England. We moved to a city called Nottingham in England.
Yeah.
So like my accent started to change really rapidly because I was kind of dropped straight into secondary school, and everyone was like, you sound so Scottish, I can't understand you, all this. And I didn't have like a really broad Glaswegian accent like
Billy Connolly.
It wasn't like, I hadn't even I was born in Glasgow, but I actually lived somewhere else in Scotland, so like I actually had, like, me and my brother had different accents to my parents because my mum is from Glasgow, my dad's from another place. So like we all had different accents. So even though people talk about the Scottish accent, it's so like, it's quite fine tuning in the UK. Like you kind of go 20 miles and it changes.
I always wanted to know, how does that, I guess, continue into modern day life when the world is so connected, and you would think in England that being such a small island or group of islands that they're in Britain, that you guys would mix around a whole heap. But is it just that everyone is spending their developmental years as kids in a very small region, getting their accent kind of cemented, and then when they leave they still hold on to it?
Yeah, it's a good point, because obviously like we're massively influenced by I've always liked watching TV. Like as a kid, I would get up really early at the weekend and like watch programs. And, a lot of them are obviously American or even Australian. So you'd think our accents would be influenced as well by like media, but I don't know. I think ultimately we're more influenced by kind of the day-to-day like context. So when you're growing up, it's other kids.
Yeah.
You don't want to sound like too different.
You don't want to be the outsider, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, obviously that was the case when I moved to England, and I think I quickly adjusted my accent because I didn't want to like stand out too much, and I wanted people to understand me, but
exactly.
I think they were
You
exaggerating a little
get
bit.
sick of repeating yourself, right? When people are like, what did you say? And you're just like, and that pushes you to kind of blend in.
Exactly, yeah. So my accent changed quite a bit. Like some people still know that I'm Scottish after speaking to me, even just for like a couple of minutes. Like they know. And I mean, I've had another Scottish person say to me, I basically know which village you're from. Because he was from the same area. He was like from the next village. I mean, that sounds insane.
Yeah.
But that's how kind of specific each accent is. I mean, that sounds crazy, because in Australia, does it vary very much?
Not the same way. Ours is kind of, there are three, I just did a video on this, there are three sort of accents or dialects, and it's the cultivated, which is more your upper class received pronunciation, like the British. You would speak with a very, very clearly, you would pronounce all the words correctly, or at least properly, like according to the dictionary, and you would be very well educated, tend to be from a rich family. Then there's the general, which is kind of just everywhere. and then the broad. And the broad tends to be associated with people of either from like rural areas where they're away from the city, or it kind of blends in with to the lower class a little bit. So especially with guys who hang out together a lot, only Aussie guys together, they tend to develop a bit of a broader accent than and especially the further away you get from the cities. But that's why England fascinates me, because you guys don't seem to have the same pattern. And we came from England, right? So we originally came from, at least the majority of us when we colonised Australia, we're all from small parts, I think, of England. Some of us kept the Cockney accent. I think that's part of why we ended up with rhyming slang and And it's always funny. It blows my mind how much difference there is in England and how you guys still have trouble with each other. Because you would imagine if the average Australian hearing cultivated, broad or general will pretty much understand everyone. But that you hear people like such as yourself who say kids had trouble understanding you in school, and you're kind of like, don't you guys watch TV and see Scottish people on TV? Like,
yeah, I don't think it's 100%. I think everyone's exaggerating a little bit. Like, it doesn't take that much effort to tune into someone else's accent, especially because in general, like, it's only not everything changes, not every sound changes. You know, in Scottish English, like, we pronounce our R's at the end of the words, which you don't do in other accents of English. Some of the vowels are different, but it's not massively different, and especially when your accent is quite isn't very strong. But it is weird. It is weird that, and now obviously it's more acceptable, like on TV and in the media, to hear all the different regional accents, and some of them are considered quite cool. So in theory we should be a bit better at understanding each other. But
it's funny too, I find that as an Australian, because we watch so much media that's not just Australian, as well as movies and TV series, we get so used to these accents. And so we tend to be able to pick where you're from too in these different countries. Like, I'm not the best at it, but I can tell north versus south. And, like even in watching Game of Thrones, right, where they separate them out based on the Scottish accents up the north and like everyone else is down there. It's just crazy. But it's funny do you guys have trouble with Australians? If we go to the UK, or because you guys have watched a lot of Home and Away and Neighbours, you guys know the Aussie accent pretty well.
Yeah, I would be inclined to say that most people, like, even if they don't watch those soap operas now, like Home and Away and all that, like they watched them when they were younger, or at uni, instead of going to class, they watched Neighbours or Home and Away. So I think I would imagine that it's less difficult. And also, like, it's funny, I live in France now. That's probably also an important part of the accent piece. And so last night on French TV, on one of the channels, Crocodile Dundee was on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You wouldn't believe some of the stuff they put on French TV. Like,
was that dubbed though, or was that subtitles?
A good question. They probably offered, because now with like digital TV, sometimes with a film you can put it into the original version.
I cannot imagine watching Crocodile Dundee with dubs. Oh my God, that would be atrocious.
It's really common to dub films, and sometimes on some channels, because the audience, for that particular channel or film isn't going to be English speaking, they just leave it in French. You can't even put it in English if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
So like last night we came across Kung Fu Panda was on some kids channel, and it was only in French. You couldn't switch it into English.
Oh, wow. But that's the part that I loved, though, as well as I hated when I was learning French really thoroughly a few years ago. I just love the fact that you could download Game of Thrones with dubs, with subtitles, all in French. And so, you already had watched it in English, you knew the story, but now you could watch it with French voices. Even though it was a bit strange, it was a lot more helpful for listening comprehension, not just having, subtitles. Yeah,
subtitles. Yeah, no, that's it. It is the advantage of France, because they do a lot of dubbing. You're going to be able to find material, and sometimes it's really well dubbed. Like they really get it right in terms of the tone and the register. So the example I always go to is South Park.
Really?
So the very rude cartoon. The French dubbing of that is amazing. It's it's on point. It's so funny. The kids are they are really rude. They swear a lot. They insult each other, and like all of that is kept in there, but with like appropriate French expressions for
the equivalent. Because that's the hardest thing to convey, right? With TV shows like that, where there's so much more depth to it, pop culture wise, than just literally translating what they're saying. You know, that I'm always mind blown when I have friends that have come over from Brazil or France or Spain or wherever it is in the world. They've learnt English and then they get TV shows like South Park or Rick and Morty or even The Simpsons, because so much of it is like Western, pop culture and references to these, famous people and situations and.
Exactly, but that's what's good in France. Yeah, there's lots of dubbed films that are really, well done. So you don't miss out. Well, you obviously do miss out on hearing it in English, but at least the dubbing is it's like loyal to the spirit of the film. But I didn't stick around watching Crocodile Dundee long enough to actually see if it was in English or the dubbed version, because it would be, I don't know what they do to do Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
Like, how did they make him speak? Yeah. What accent did they give him?
What's a broad French accent? The racaille?
Sometimes what they do, they could make him speak like no, I don't think that would work. Well, they could make him speak like someone really rural, I guess, or sort of country folk. I don't know where I was going with my train of thought. Oh yeah, it's like sometimes, like, in South Park, there's a character who's British, Pip.
Yes, and, of course. Yeah.
So what they do in the French version is he is dubbed with a strong English accent in French.
Because it's like, how do you convey that message too? Of like, Pip has an English accent on an American TV show with American kids, which makes him sound incredibly pretentious and posh. But how do you translate that into other languages and cultures? Because you can't really just give him an English accent because people won't get it. That's clever.
Yeah,
but the French still leave him as English, but speaking French with a strong English accent.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh no, I'm so annoyed now. I should have watched a few minutes of Crocodile Dundee just to figure out, because they could do it like basically a French voice with a strong kind of, Australian sounding or at least Anglophone sounding
exactly. Accent. Je suis Crocodile Dundee. Comment allez-vous? Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Ça, c'est un couteau.
Yeah, that's pas un couteau. That's not a knife.
Ça, c'est un couteau.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Yeah, I'm gonna have to YouTube that in a second and find the dubbed version just to double check how they do it.
So
but
how did you end up in France though? What's the story there? And how have you found the language learning experience over in France?
Yeah, so I studied French at university.
Oh, brilliant.
So I studied linguistics and I studied French, and I wanted to, and I had spent some time in France, like during the summers between years at uni, and I just was like, I want to go and live in France after. So like a lot of people do the year abroad where they go and study in a French university or something like this. I didn't actually do that.
Yeah.
For various reasons. And then my university had like a link with the university in the city where I live now, which is called Besançon. And so there was an opportunity for me to come over after my studies and teach English. So I was like, I want to do that because I'm interested in teaching English as a foreign language. I want to live in France, and there's a possibility of
It's ticking all the boxes, huh?
It's ticking a lot of boxes, and it was a really cool job because it's like they pay you the minimum wage, but you have like 12 hours of teaching a week.
Wow. Okay.
So like you're getting paid as if you're doing 35 hours. Right. Obviously, you have
the lower end of 35 hours a week, right? Though, or like pay wise, yeah.
But that, like, it's fine if you're a young single person. The minimum wage in France is like, the cost of living is okay. So it was really cool. So I did that. I had a job for a couple of years teaching in a university, which is quite it's quite a steep learning curve when you go to work in a university in France, because it's very different to the way university works in the UK and the way I imagine it works in Australia.
How is that? How does it differ?
it's quite chaotic. So,
Oh, really?
Because like as long as you've got the baccalaureate, you can go to university. This is changing at the moment, and this is why some French universities are on strike, because they want to introduce selection before you get into uni.
Yeah.
Essentially what happens in France is loads of people turn up. The first year is really the year of selection. So like a lot of people just drop out because they don't really know why they're there in the first place. Especially, you know, I was working in the sort of humanities, languages, faculté.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people just kind of turn up there because they finished school. They don't know what to do. They've heard that if you study a language or sociology, the workload is a bit lighter. You don't have as many classes. So they're like, okay, I'm just going to enroll here because it's very cheap to enroll, or even free. And some people get bursaries. So it's really good in that sense. Like it's really open, but that means that like it's quite chaotic because, you know, they have classes that are supposed to be kind of seminar style, but like, one time in one of these classes, I had like 47 students on the register.
Wow.
Like, obviously, they didn't all turn up. Like, fortunately. But I think for the test, though, they were probably all there. Yeah, that was probably the time that I counted 47. So that's supposed to be like an English class where they're supposed to be doing oral expression.
Yeah.
And even if the maximum is supposed to be more like 30, that's still like way too many people.
Well, you just don't have enough time, right, to get them all to talk and to be involved with you.
Yeah, and it's a lot of crowd control because French people, they really like talking. Like, it's not uncommon for people to talk all the way through, even a lecture. Like, and I had colleagues from other countries who were so shocked. Like, I had a Brazilian colleague.
That'd be a big no-no in Australia. You would get thrown out.
Oh yeah, like it's so rude. Like, and yeah, so a Brazilian colleague was like, you know, I was doing a lecture and people are just, you know, they don't shut up. Like they, so yeah, it's definitely different. You're sort of less well looked after if you're a student in France. You're kind of left to your own devices to kind of muddle through, you know, and figure it out. So yeah, so not everybody ends up finishing university. Like a lot of people leave or they do something else. So
was there a lot of culture shock though too when you went over there? Like the different food, the different, I guess, etiquette with people, right? There's a bit of a difference there too, and yeah, like there's some stuff like I knew from sort of spending a bit of time, like I'd been to a summer school at a French university and I'd done sort of homestays with French families a little bit, so like I kind of knew what to expect. Yeah. So that helped a bit, but yeah, I hadn't actually spent that much time in France. Like when I was younger, like it wasn't really a holiday destination for us. Like, you know, a lot of British people like to go to Spain. Exactly. So like probably went there on holiday, or even just on holiday in Scotland or whatever. So, but yeah, so like the most important things I knew, but some things were still really like hard for me. When I arrived, like, you know, it's really important to, when you go into a shop in France, you have to say bonjour. Whereas in the English speaking world, you can kind of just sneak in. Yeah, exactly. Shop. Like you don't always have to say, unless it's a really small kind of independent shop, then you might say something to the person who's working there. But yeah, in France, like it's really important. You have to announce your arrival by saying bonjour, or they're supposed to say bonjour to you. So like directly to them, or just like as in bonjour, like as in you walk in and you're like, I'm here.
Well, sometimes, yeah, like I'll go into the bakery, if there's a bit of a queue, I might be like, bonjour. It's just like a general bonjour to everyone. Wow. Well, some people are a bit like a sort of, some people will come in and be like, bonjour, monsieur, dame, you know, so kind of addressing everybody in the shop, you know. Yeah. But I don't walk in there like that. I just kind of mumble a bonjour.
It's so funny the differences I notice too, because like I'm learning Brazilian Portuguese at the moment, and they are so relaxed, and they have these same sort of expressions that like they'll say things like oi gente, which is like hi people, or oi galera. Oi galera is like when you're addressing a lot of people at once. So on Facebook they'll always write oi galera in the groups, and it means like hi gallery, you know, like a gallery of people.
Okay. Yeah.
So interesting. I love how that changes, but is it Monsieur Dame? Like it's like Mr. Mrs. Hello.
Yeah, Monsieur Dame. Bonsoir, Monsieur Dame.
Monsieur Dame.
Monsieur Dem. And that's something you have to just be careful with. And then, because like some things are a bit more formal in day-to-day life. So the whole thing of going into the shop and saying bonjour. And the thing that always cracks me up, right? I caught onto the fact that if you don't know someone, right, even if they're more or less your age, because age changes things.
The vous thing, right?
Yeah, well, not that, but it's like the first time you meet someone, you would say bonjour. So even if it's a younger person around your same age, because I was like, well, surely I can just say salut, which is like hi.
Okay.
But no, if you've never met, you say bonjour.
I never knew that.
Or if you do, yeah, but I've noticed that, and I'm like, this is stupid, because otherwise, if you're young and you meet another young person for the first time, you can just say tu. You know, if you're both 25, you just say tu. And I mean, I'm 32 now, so I'm probably leaving that kind of zone of being able to just say tu to whoever I want. And if people perceive you as younger, like I had to go and see a sort of specialist doctor yesterday, and it got a bit weird because, you know, he's calling me vous initially, and then he was sort of using tu because it's like, oh, well, she's young. I don't know what. I was just like, you got to decide, mate, because you're
I guess for the context of listeners, the French have vous, which is like polite plural you, and tu, which is like singular. I guess not impolite, but it's kind of informal, right? It's what you would use with friends, and
it's how you get closer to someone. Yeah, you know. So that concept is difficult for French people learning English. Is like, well, how do I kind of show that I'm on the same level as someone? And it's like, well, you can't do it with a pronoun. You do it with other things.
And the funny thing is that I'm always telling my students that in Australia, it's like we automatically call everyone tu because it shows that we're all friends. And that we're all mates. So if I met the Prime Minister of Australia tomorrow, you know, like the dude at the top of Australia, he would probably say to me, "G'day, mate." You know, it would just be, he would treat me like I was his best friend. And that's just like a weird Australian thing where I think it's partly where the anti-British establishment from when we were a colony, you know, the last few hundred years, and as a result of rebelling against the classes, we treat everyone like they're, you know, our mates. And so it's just so weird. Like, I don't know how I would act in front of the Queen, you know. Like, I mean, I probably wouldn't say, "G'day, mate," but it would feel
probably
like, how's it going?
You're right. How's Philip?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I know. But that's the funny thing, that in Australia, the good thing is that you can get away with calling people mate or even saying dude. I noticed recently going around to different stores, I was filming some stuff for videos and I was referring to people as just dude. Hey dude, how you going? Like, you know, and people, they just don't even flinch. Yeah, it's just, whatever.
That's interesting because French life is definitely more formal. Like, also the thing, for a couple of years I worked in a French company and I was in, it was industrial, so there was like a factory and then there were the office bits, and like it's comical to me, again, like just you're spending all day bumping into people in the corridor going bonjour, or you like run into the HR manager, bonjour, shake hands, right? Or you run into the boss of the factory, bonjour, shake hands, bonjour monsieur, shake hands. And I was just like, is this like a Monty Python sketch? Like it just sometimes it just feels really silly to me, some of the sort of, you know, formal rules. But yeah, the craziest one for me is, okay, you don't know this person, but you're about the same age, you know, but you can't say salut the first time, you must say bonjour. But after that, you can say salut to this person whenever you want.
That's like, and that's an unspoken rule, is it too, where you don't even, it's not even like, oh yeah, make sure you do this. It's just something everyone seems to do, is it?
I'm going to have to double check it with some French people and some Anglophones. But I definitely noticed that, like, you know, I've said salut to someone I'm being introduced to, and then they've said bonjour back. And I'm like, well, that was awkward. Like,
you
it's like
just
we're not.
Be like, yeah, quoi de neuf, mon pote? You know, what's up, matey?
I think I'll try that. But then at the same time, you have to kiss them on the cheek. So it's like, all right. So I can't just say hi to you, but I put face next to your face. Like, how, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I should be able to say salut when we're getting, you know, very close physically. But
do you get leeway though too, because you're obviously, you know, not French, to people at least go, okay, all right, you know, she's not trying to be rude or anything, she just doesn't get that we do these things that are unspoken rules, you know?
Yeah, I think I probably get away with yeah, to a certain extent. And also it depends on the environment. So in the university environment, people do tend to use tu with each other very easily between colleagues. Obviously, if it's the dean of the university, you'd have to use vous.
Yeah.
But that's quite whereas some workplaces, I think it just depends as well on the workplace culture, like how formal it is or not.
It is so interesting though that even obviously we have these same problems between two cultures that you would imagine would be incredibly close to one another, France and England, and yet you guys have relatively big differences that you kind of have to stumble your way through when you're learning how to navigate that culture.
Definitely. It's, you can't really understand it fully, I think, until you've seen it kind of on the ground and you've tried things out and you've seen the reactions. You've observed people. I think you have to do a lot of kind of observation of what other people do, and then you kind of go in and, you know, you can try it yourself. But yeah, you have to be a little bit careful. But yeah, you can always play that kind of foreigner card.
Would you have any advice for French people learning English and coming to England or even Australia, or even foreigners in general, and sort of do's and don'ts, or how to get past this sort of situation, or learn how to navigate these situations, I guess?
These situations, I think, like, you know, definitely, like, look at what other people are doing and what's kind of acceptable or not, because some things that are weird, from if you're coming from any culture where people kiss each other, like in France. So when we say kiss, actually what you do is you just touch the other person's cheek with your cheek and then you make a kissing noise.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you meet someone, you know, and you do them on each cheek, right?
Don't kiss them on the mouth. That might freak them out.
Cultures, like people, in a lot of Anglophone cultures, people will hug, and I know that's a bit weird for French people. So,
that's something I've encountered quite a bit, where I'll meet for the first time and I'll just be like, hey, give us a hug, like, you know, what's up? And they'll be like, what? And you just like, but that's just what we do. We're just friendly, you know? This is like, we don't shake hands. It's a bit formal, and the kissing we don't do, but we hug. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Because it's kind of awkward for my like, my partner's French, so he doesn't even like doing the kissing, even though it's like in his culture.
Oh, really?
Although there are some men that he kisses, like, it's really weird. Like he's quite into the concert scene here where we live, and he knows people who run record labels and organize concerts. So when he sees them, their thing is to do the kisses on the cheeks, not the shaking of hands. It's just that in that context, like. Yeah. That's what they kind of do.
Well, I guess otherwise, that's a big point, though, right? No matter what, you know, part of the world you're going to, you kind of have to not just learn in a book what the context is that you should be doing, but get in there and then you learn, because it might be different for different groups and friends and family, and it could be anything.
This is why it gets really complicated. Even like the tu vous thing, when you start learning about it in books, it looks quite straightforward. You're like, okay, do I know the person or do I not know the person? And then when you're actually in France, they add on like a million extra rules, and it gets really, really complicated. But anyway, the hugging thing, it's maybe trial and error, or I don't know, if it makes you feel weird, you're allowed to say it, you know, you're allowed to say that it's sort of a bit...
Exactly, and I think too you need to embrace the fact that you will get a free pass, you know, if you're a foreigner, it's obvious, definitely. People aren't going to, their automatic assumption will never be, this guy's being a jerk, he's being rude intentionally. No. Yeah, so as opposed to if I did it to another Australian, you know, they would understand instantly that, or they would have these assumptions about what I know and what I shouldn't do or should do. Whereas for you, people will give you a lot of leeway often because they think you're getting used to how everything works.
Definitely.
All right, guys, so that was it for today. I really hope that you enjoyed that interview. Massive thanks to Cara from leolistening.com. Remember that we will be back, although this guy won't be back, but we will be back for the second part of this interview shortly, so stay tuned and wait for that, where you guys will learn how you can stop using subtitles, how you can get past having to use subtitles when you watch TV shows or movies. See you in the next one, guys. Bye.